What looks like peace after a breakup is often just emotional anesthesia. From the outside, your avoidant ex may seem calm, confident, even lighter than before. They may post more, go out more, stay active, laugh in places where you expected grief. And if you are not careful, you will believe the illusion. You will think they escaped untouched while you carry all the weight. But many emotional patterns are misleading in the beginning. Some people do not heal first, they hide first, they numb first, they run first. The first stage many avoidants experience is relief. Not joy, not victory, relief. Relief that difficult conversations are gone. Relief that responsibility feels smaller. Relief that nobody is asking for deeper emotional presence. Relief that pressure seems lifted. For someone who struggles with closeness, connection can feel heavy once fear takes control. So when the relationship ends, they often experience temporary breathing room. It feels like space. It feels like control returning. It feels like silence after noise. This stage can be dangerous for the person left behind because it creates false conclusions. You may see them smiling and assume they never cared. You may see quick movement and assume you were easily replaced. But relief is not the same as healing. It is simply the nervous system reacting to reduced tension. Many people mistake short-term comfort for long-term peace. They are not the same thing. Then comes the second stage, numbness. Once the first rush of freedom settles, many avoidants disconnect from deeper emotion without even noticing. They go through routines, they answer messages, they function normally. But inside, they are operating on low emotional power. Instead of feeling lost directly, they flatten it. Instead of sitting with sadness, they become distant from themselves. This is common in people who learned early that emotion feels unsafe. If pain cannot be managed, the mind learns to mute it. This is why some avoidants appear robotic after separation. It is not always cruelty. Sometimes it is self-protection so automatic they do not even realize it is happening. They are not processing the end. They are postponing it. They are moving through life with closed doors inside. And closed doors can stay shut for a while, but not forever. The third stage is distraction. This is where movement becomes medicine. They stay busy because stillness is dangerous. Silence gives memory a voice. Empty hours invite reflection. So they fill the schedule. Work becomes louder. Friends become constant. Entertainment becomes endless. Attention goes everywhere except inward. They may flirt quickly, talk to new people, or jump into another connection too soon. Not because they are healed, but because novelty can temporarily cover unresolved emotion. Human psychology shows that distraction can reduce discomfort for a moment, but it does not solve the source. You can outrun a feeling for weeks, sometimes months, but eventually the body slows down. The night gets quiet. The phone is face down. The room becomes honest, and whatever was avoided begins waiting at the door. During this period, you may be doing the opposite journey. You may be hurting deeply, missing them, replaying every moment, blaming yourself, wondering what went wrong. It feels unfair because your pain is immediate while theirs seems invisible. But immediate pain often leads to real growth. You cry, reflect, learn, rebuild, and become stronger through truth. Delayed pain often leads to confusion later because nothing was faced when it first needed attention. This is why many strong people rise after heartbreak, while emotionally avoidant people often circle the same patterns. Growth usually comes through confrontation, not escape. Through honesty, not suppression. Through discomfort, not denial. The wound you are willing to clean heals faster than the wound you keep covered. Another hidden part of this stage is self-justification. To protect their decision, they may tell themselves stories. It would never work. They wanted too much. I need freedom. I'm better alone. These thoughts are not always lies, but they are often incomplete truths used to reduce guilt. When someone feels inner conflict, the mind creates explanations that feel easier to carry. This helps them stay emotionally distant from the consequences of their choices. But truth has patience. It does not need to shout, it waits. And once distraction loses power, those stories begin cracking. The mind gets tired of pretending certainty when the heart feels something else. That is when unresolved attachment starts rising slowly from beneath the surface. You need to understand something important here. Their early calmness is not your final answer. Their first reaction does not define the whole emotional timeline. Many people judge the entire breakup based on the first few weeks. That is like judging a storm by the first drop of rain. Internal experiences unfold in layers. Some people feel everything immediately. Others feel it when the world becomes quiet enough to hear themselves. So do not destroy your confidence because someone looked unbothered in the beginning. Do not insult your worth because they seemed fine too fast. Do not compare your healing process to someone who survives by disconnecting. Different coping styles create different timelines, but every avoided emotion keeps a receipt. Sooner or later, it asks to be paid. Your job is not to monitor their reactions. Your job is to protect your own energy. While they distract themselves, you build yourself. While they run from reflection, you become wiser through it. While they chase noise, you create strength in silence. This is how heartbreak becomes power. Not by waiting for their regret, but by refusing to lose yourself in their confusion. And then something shifts. The schedule cannot stay full forever. New faces stop feeling exciting. Busy days end, nights lengthen. The space they once wanted becomes space they must sit inside. That is when relief starts fading. That is when numbness weakens. That is when distraction stops working. And that is when reality finally begins to speak. There comes a moment when running stops helping. The calendar is full, the noise is loud, the smile is practiced, yet something still feels missing. This is the stage many people never witness because it happens behind closed doors. No public announcement, no dramatic confession, just a slow shift inside the person who once believed distance would solve everything. The emptiness they kept postponing begins asking for attention. At first, it arrives as restlessness. They cannot fully relax. Things that used to entertain them feel dull. Conversations feel shallow. The people around them may be present, but the emotional connection is absent. They start noticing that movement without meaning creates exhaustion. Freedom without warmth can feel cold. Independence without depth can feel lonely. What once looked like escape begins to feel like isolation. This is where memory becomes powerful. The mind often returns to places where safety once existed. Small details come back unexpectedly. A voice, a habit, a phrase, a time you understood them without explanation. A moment you stayed patient when others would have walked away. Human beings remember emotional shelter differently than they remember surface excitement. Pleasure fades quickly. Genuine connection leaves fingerprints on the mind. That is why they may begin comparing every new interaction to what they lost. Not because you were perfect, not because every moment was easy, but because real bonds carry substance. They realize that many people can give attention, but few people give depth. Many can entertain, but few can understand. Many can be around you, but few can truly see you. This realization creates inner tension. Their pride says, keep moving. Their heart says something mattered there. Their defense system says, stay distant. Their loneliness says, reach out. This conflict can become mentally exhausting. They may start checking your profile quietly, looking for clues, wondering if you moved on, asking mutual friends casual questions while pretending not to care. They may type messages and erase them. They may replay old conversations and hear meanings they ignored before. Regret rarely enters like thunder. It usually enters like a whisper. It begins with one thought. Maybe I lost something rare. Then another thought follows. Maybe I misunderstood what I had. Then another. Maybe I reacted from fear instead of truth. This is difficult for avoidant people because admitting regret means admitting vulnerability. It means facing the possibility that protection cost them something valuable. Many people assume missing someone should lead to instant action. Real psychology is more complex. A person can miss you deeply and still hesitate. They can care and still resist contact. They can want connection and still fear exposure, especially someone trained to hide emotion. Desire and behavior do not always move together. Sometimes the heart runs forward while old patterns pull backward. This is why their actions during this stage can look confusing. They may watch your stories but say nothing. They may like something indirectly. They may send a random message that seems small and meaningless. They may create excuses to reopen contact. These are often tests, not always manipulative tests, but emotional temperature checks. They want to know if the door is locked before risking their ego on honesty. Meanwhile, your growth becomes more visible. The person who once begged for clarity may now be silent. The one who waited may now be focused. The one who was broken may now be rebuilding. And nothing creates reflection faster than seeing someone you once took for granted become stronger without you. People often value what they assumed would always remain available. Scarcity reveals worth to immature minds. This is why your healing matters so much, not to make them jealous, not to perform strength, but because genuine progress changes energy. Confidence has a presence. Peace has a presence. Self-respect has a presence. When you stop chasing, stop explaining, stop shrinking yourself, the dynamic changes. They no longer feel certain of access, and uncertainty often forces hidden feelings into the open. Still, be wise here. Their longing does not automatically equal transformation. Missing comfort is easier than building maturity. Wanting you back is easier than learning how to love well. Feeling lonely is easier than becoming emotionally available. Many people confuse emotional hunger with readiness. They are not the same. Someone can crave reconnection while still carrying the same habits that caused the separation. That is why your standards must rise with your healing. Do not be impressed by breadcrumbs. Do not be moved by vague messages with no accountability. Do not mistake curiosity for commitment. If they truly value what they lost, effort will become visible. Clarity will become visible. Consistency will become visible. Growth will become visible. Mature love does not hide behind confusion. There is also a deeper truth many miss. Sometimes their pain is not only about losing you, it is about meeting themselves. In your absence, they face the emptiness distractions once covered. They face patterns they blamed on others. They face the emotional limits that relationships kept exposing. Loss can become a mirror, and mirrors are uncomfortable when someone has spent years avoiding reflection. This stage changes everything because illusion starts dying. They can no longer pretend the breakup solved internal problems. They can no longer blame closeness for wounds that existed before closeness. They can no longer avoid the reality that fear may have guided important decisions. Awareness can be painful, but it is also the doorway to growth. And as awareness grows, one final battle begins. The pain of staying away starts becoming heavier than the fear of coming near. Pride weakens. Defenses tire out. Silence loses its power. What they once resisted now begins pulling at them. That is when many avoidants reach the point where returning no longer feels impossible. Then the message comes, sometimes short, sometimes casual, sometimes unexpected after weeks or months of silence. A simple hello. A question that could have been answered elsewhere. A memory sent at midnight. A reaction to something minor. On the surface, it may look small, but underneath it often represents a long internal battle. Reaching out can feel huge for someone who once chose distance over honesty. It means the wall cracked enough for emotion to pass through. But this is the moment where many people lose their power. They waited so long for contact that they mistake the return itself as proof of change. They believe presence means maturity. They believe missing you means understanding you. They believe coming back means they are ready. Be careful. Contact is communication. Transformation is something else entirely. One text can be written in seconds. Real growth is built through repeated action over time. Many avoidant exes return because separation became painful. They miss familiarity. They miss emotional safety. They miss the person who knew their patterns and still cared. They miss being understood without having to explain much. They miss the comfort they once undervalued because comfort is often invisible until it disappears. Humans notice water most when the well runs dry. Some return because new experiences did not satisfy them. They discovered attention is not the same as intimacy. Chemistry is not the same as trust. Excitement is not the same as peace. Surface options may be many, but meaningful connection is rare. After enough shallow encounters, what was once ordinary can suddenly look precious. Others return because your absence changed the balance. While they expected you to remain available emotionally, you began rebuilding your life. You became quieter, stronger, less reactive. The version of you that once chased now protects energy. That shift can wake people up. They start realizing access was never guaranteed. Many only recognize value when certainty disappears. Yet none of these reasons automatically create a healthy reunion. Missing someone is an emotion. Loving someone well is a skill. Desire can be sincere and still insufficient. Good intentions can exist beside old habits. A person may want closeness while still fearing the responsibility it requires. This is why many reunions fail quickly. The feelings return, but the patterns return with them. So when they come back, do not only listen to words, study behavior. Are they clear or vague? Are they steady or inconsistent? Do they take ownership or rewrite history? Do they speak about growth with specifics or only offer emotional speeches? Accountability has a language. Change has evidence. Effort has rhythm. If none of these are present, then nostalgia may be speaking louder than maturity. You must also remember your own journey. You are not the same person who was first left confused. Pain taught you things comfort never could. Silence taught you where you abandoned yourself. Distance taught you the cost of low standards. Healing taught you that love without security can drain the spirit. You paid for wisdom with heartbreak. Do not give that wisdom away cheaply. This is where self-respect becomes everything. Self-respect asks questions emotions may ignore. Self-respect notices red flags attraction wants to excuse. Self-respect values peace over temporary excitement. It does not punish people for mistakes, but it refuses to reward unchanged behavior. If they want another chance, they must meet a stronger version of you, not the wounded version that accepted confusion. There is nothing wrong with reconciliation when it is built on truth. People can learn, people can grow, people can confront childhood patterns, seek help, become emotionally safer, and love differently. Human beings are not fixed forever, but growth is never proven by longing alone. It is proven by humility, consistency, patience, and responsibility. Sometimes the bravest choice is to rebuild together slowly with clear boundaries. Sometimes the wisest choice is to bless them and keep walking. Both choices can be strong if they come from clarity instead of fear. The goal is not to win someone back. The goal is to win yourself back. Once you understand that, every decision becomes cleaner. Many people think the grand reward is hearing from the ex who once withdrew. No. The deeper reward is becoming someone who no longer needs that message to feel whole. The real victory is sleeping peacefully whether they text or not. The real victory is knowing your worth whether they validate it or not. The real victory is having standards strong enough to protect your future. Because when you become whole, you stop seeing their return as salvation. You see it as information. You evaluate calmly. You choose wisely. You are no longer controlled by longing, fantasy, or unfinished stories. You are guided by truth, and truth changes everything. If they come back healed, honest, and ready to build, you will recognize it through actions. If they come back lonely, confused, and seeking comfort without commitment, you will recognize that too. Either way, you win when your eyes are open. Either way, you win when you refuse to betray yourself. Either way, you win when love starts with self-respect. So let them learn their lessons. Let life teach what you could not force them to understand. Let time reveal what fear once hid. Your task is different now. Rise higher, grow deeper, protect your peace. Become the person who does not chase uncertainty anymore. Then whether they return or remain a memory, your future stays powerful.